Hi everyone! Today I'm gonna do a quick fragrance review of Valentino's Uomo Intense. The bottle looks like this. This fragrance came out in 2016, and when it first came out it immediately created a very divisive conversation in the fragrance community. On one hand, there are people who really loved it. They thought it's the next best thing to Dior Homme, or the next best thing to Spice Bomb, and on the other hand you will find people who felt like the entire fragrance creation by Valentino this time was kind of tacky and that it didn't introduce anything new to the fragrance discourse. One of the main points of conversation for this fragrance is the bottle. You'll have people who say that this bottle looks like the most hideous thing they've ever seen. They'll say that it's tacky, and then you'll find people who find that it's very luxurious and that it looks very fancy. I've even seen in fragrance community forums that people say that they actually really like the substance of this fragrance, but they can't see themselves buying it because the bottle is so ugly. And on the other hand, there are people who, are writing comments like, hey, if you don't like the bottle, when you finish it, can you send me the empty bottle? I would love to have it on my vanity. I actually really like this fragrance. I was on the lookout for a fragrance that has the same, gives off the same vibe and atmosphere as Viktor & Rolf's Spice Bomb. I went out, did some research, and sampled this fragrance, and I absolutely fell in love with it. A lot of people compare it to Dior Homme, but that fragrance has this soapy and more masculine essence to it that is missing in this fragrance. Doesn't make this fragrance any less wearable or any less pleasing to the nose. However, before I even dive into all that ramble, let me read to you what the official notes are of this fragrance. The top notes are mandarin, clary sage. The heart notes are iris, tonka beans, and the base notes are black leather and vanilla bean. And so now we got that condescending fragrance jargon out of the way with. Let's go on to what I actually think this smells like. It's very sweet right off the bat, and it has a very quick citrus blast. Like upon the first spray, you'll get like citrus notes, but that fades away very quickly and it goes into this very nice caramel vanilla dry down, and it stays like that for like the duration of your wear, and this lasts about 8 hours on my skin, which is average to high performance. Another good point of this fragrance is that it's very universal. It's not one of those fragrances that aims to be too different, or it's not too sweet, or it's not too masculine, and it's definitely not a smug, snarky fragrance that tries to take over the attention in the room. It's a warm, caramel, comforting type of scent. It smells great close to the body, but it projects well enough for people to smell you if they're, standing next to you. I bought this because I was looking for a replacement for the Spice Bomb, and although this initially reminded me of Spice Bomb just because of its sophisticated, sweet, yet spicy, leathery essence, but I'm starting to realize that unlike the Spice Bomb, I'm sorry I keep doing this because I kind of have to sniff it to find the words to describe it, but unlike the Spice Bomb, it's less fruity. So those who never wanted to try Spice Bomb or sampled it and didn't like it because it was a little bit too fruity and it was a little bit too spicy and too much going on, this one is kind of like a safer bet because it's sweet, but there's that very obvious and strong Italian / masculine thing that's going on. I don't smell any mandarin or sage that is mentioned in the actual notes, but the vanilla and leather aspect I smell almost right away, and it lasts for a very, very long time. This is currently my favorite fragrance to wear. I'm in a country where, or I'm living in a spot where we're currently moving away from winter and entering into springtime, but winter is kind of, staying longer than we expected, so it's great for that transition from cold to a more mild temperature. I wouldn't necessarily say that this will be my holy grail fragrance in the summer. I can imagine that this will smell a little bit uncomfortable when rubbed against sweat. However, it smells absolutely delicious, comforting, and very sexy in cold environments. Overall, very classy, very well done fragrance, in my opinion. It's hard to find a fragrance that at the same time reminds you of so many other great fragrances like Dior Homme, Spice Bomb. It even reminds me of Armani Code in some ways. But yeah, it's hard to find a fragrance that reminds me so much of other great sweet leather fragrances, but at the same time still smell unique. And I find that those who don't like this fragrance are those who have a much more snobby nose, or a snobby preference. Those who are used to smelling niche fragrances, and love the idea of smelling different, they're not going to be very impressed with this fragrance because it is a very safe smelling fragrance in the sense that it will remind you of a bunch of other designer fragrances. However, it's very nicely done. The quality is high, it lasts long on my skin, and I think it's an unfair criticism to make against this fragrance just because it smells like other top performing designer fragrances. Definitely not niche quality. But yeah, so what I'm saying is, perhaps those of you who are more of a down-to-earth fragrance collector would prefer this because it smells great, but nothing about it is groundbreaking. And in the end, I'm very glad that I purchased the full size. That's it for my fragrance review. I hope to see you in another video very soon. Bye for now.